We are going to officially call to order our fourth and potentially final budget hearing tonight. Mr. Truesdale, if you could do the roll call.
Ms. Daniels, Ms. Davis,
Present.
Ms. Green,
Present.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Ms. Rawls,
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez. Okay, he's present. Ms. Bowers.
Present.
Thank you. I will note that Councilman Rodriguez is present through Zoom, joining us tonight. We will have a little change to our agenda tonight. We are going to start with the Bureau of Planning. So if Mr. Jeff Knight could join us. Good evening. If you could just introduce yourself, give us an overview of your department, go through your presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Yes, so Jeffrey Knight, I'm the planning director and the floodplain administrator for the city, director of the Planning Bureau. Don't know if my presentation's up quite yet, but basically we handle a lot of the land development issues here in the city of Harrisburg, whether they relate to new construction, zoning issues, historic district issues, or floodplain issues. We also are responsible for utilizing two basic documents in the implementation of our duties, the zoning code, which was adopted by City Council in 2014, and the city's comprehensive plan, which was adopted by Council in 2020. And then in addition to our short and long range responsibilities for both, near-term physical development, such as new construction, as well as long-term issues, such as figuring out how to improve our floodplain management, for example. We are the staff and manage 3 different boards here in the city: the Harrisburg Planning Commission, the Harrisburg Architectural Review Board, which handles historic district reviews, and then the Zoning Hearing Board here at the city. Our daily kind of work log, we take walk-ins, we take emails, we take phone calls. That includes both myself and our Urban Planner 1, Kat Carini. And we also review permits that come from both the Codes Department, and that's largely building permits, and then also reviews of permits from the Tax and Enforcement Office, and that includes mercantile permits and sometimes sidewalk use permits. In addition to those core kind of daily and monthly responsibilities, we also coordinate with various departments throughout the city from a number of perspectives. Many of the departments get our land development plans, for example, for their review and comment. And then we also coordinate with other departments like the engineer's office, for example, on new transportation projects here in the city. And up there is kind of the most recent documents that, the big planning documents that the department has developed, including the comprehensive plan, which I had previously noted was passed in 2020, and then our historic district design guidelines, which were passed in 2021. So since that time, our work has largely been to implement the projects and concepts in the comprehensive plan, and also apply the zoning code in the review of new development proposals, new use proposals, and other larger projects. So with respect to our 2025 proposed budget and compared to our 2024 budget, we actually have a very minor increase. I believe the increase is about $2,500, and that's limited to the 2% in the staff increases. We don't really have much discretionary funding in the department. Our funding largely falls into 2 buckets, one of those being salaries for our positions, and the other being the costs of managing and operating the zoning hearing board meetings. Those include both legal ads that are required for each monthly meeting, the stenographer that attends those meetings, and then the zoning hearing board solicitor who acts as the legal counsel for the board members. They are a separate board from the city, so they have their own legal counsel. Our current staff complement is both myself, as I noted, and Kat Carini. She's our urban planner one. So we have one male, one female, both white. I am, I guess, have some Spanish-speaking abilities and a background, and Kat is much more conversant in Spanish, so she engages mostly with our members of the public who are primarily Spanish-speaking as a first point of contact, and we often work with Melissa Masones as well in coordinating with them and communicating with those members of the public to ensure that we are getting the information across correctly. Right now, we currently have two vacancies, the Deputy Planning Director, who is also the zoning officer, and our Historic Preservation Specialist. The Deputy Planning Director position's been vacant since about the beginning of February, when our previous individual who was in that role left the city, and the Historic Preservation Specialist position's been vacant for quite some time, for about 3 years now. So we do not receive any grants or disperse any grants through the Planning Bureau. We used to receive a grant from Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission to fund some of our historic district activities, but we no longer receive that. So we really don't do any management of funds. And again, the special projects are largely related to some of the long-term planning issues, like working with the city engineer's office on their Vision Zero policy, or perhaps working towards improving our community rating system level. And with regard to the ARPA projects, we do not receive any ARPA funds for projects that we manage or disperse any funds. And we do not have any new positions in the department planned. Our focus right now is just filling the two vacancies that we have. So with respect to our year-to-date budget, again, our budget is relatively flat, especially when it comes to the zoning hearing board funds. The legal ads, we hit about 2/3 this year, and our stenographer, we were about 80%, and our zoning hearing board solicitor is about 50%, although we still haven't received our the invoice for December of this year. Now, those numbers seem pretty low, but I would say that this year was a bit out of the ordinary. We didn't have any cases for one month's meeting, so that kept the legal ad and solicitor amounts lower. And for 3 of the other meetings, we either had one case or had a case that was just continued. So there was minimal time spent during those meetings that accrued costs for the city. So I think maintaining the level is always prudent, because we're not sure exactly what types of cases or how big our agendas are going to be in the upcoming year. We might receive a lot, and in which case we'd rather have that money than have to move it around towards the end of the year. None of our salaries are proposed to exceed the planned 2% increase. So our goals, and this was pulled from the, I think, first quarterly report I gave at the beginning of this year, was filling vacant positions, which has been an ongoing challenge for us. I think we're not getting a whole lot of new qualified candidates for each of these positions, maybe 1 or 2 every few months. So it's something that we're working on both internally and with HR to expand the reach of our advertising and position announcements, maybe reaching out to some of the local colleges, especially those with graduate programs, and trying to find potential graduates who might be graduating in May of this year, of this upcoming year. So we'll definitely be looking to target people ahead of that. The comprehensive plan documentation, so we have been working on that, both things that we're able to do kind of internally, and then things that we are coordinating on with our GIS administrator to get our maps together and then compiled into a story map format, which is, I think something that would be more digestible by the general public and to get that up on our website. Zoning amendment packages, I'm putting those together right now for a couple different packages, and that would be largely confined to different topical areas like signage or looking at the allowable use chart in section 7-305.7 of the zoning code. So I'd like to take those in kind of their own topical areas one at a time rather than doing a full big kind of omnibus package of those updates. And the intention will be to kind of largely reflect some of the projects and permits that we've been getting, and to look at what other industry or what other communities are doing, and maybe try and have our regulations better reflect what we're seeing kind of currently, so that we're not forcing individuals or businesses to come through the process as much if it's not as necessary. As noted, we're working to improve the community rating systems level. Right now, we're a level 8 community, and we've gradually over the years been gaining points here and there, and we're, I think, right below the threshold for a level 7. So we're hoping to identify some location or some areas within FEMA's scoring matrix to score a few additional points to get us over that level 7. Our Planner 1 has reviewed all of the communities participating in FEMA's rating system throughout the country that are level 7 or better, and we're looking at areas where, or communities where we could maybe take some of their recommendations or their ideas and apply them here in Harrisburg to, again, try to find those easy points to get up another level for this upcoming year. And then finally, improving documentation. I'm almost done with updating our documentation to be more comprehensive and clear, especially with regard to the instructions on our application sheets. A lot of our applications are somewhat older, and the instructions might not be as relevant now as they used to be. So we're trying to make sure we're providing, comprehensive but concise instructions at the front end for the public, so that they not only know what to provide, but know how the process is going to go and know what their responsibilities are within that process. And once those are finished, we'll be putting those up on the website. So our goals for the upcoming year are largely to continue with our goals from this year. Hopefully, if we're able to fill those 2 vacancies we have, or even one of the vacancies with a qualified candidate, we'll really be able to step up the progress on some of these other goals, and maybe even look to adopt some new goals for the upcoming year. Again, working with our GIS administrator on the story mapping to get that up on the city's website, the zoning amendment packages that we would be introducing in the spring, and those would go before Planning Commission before coming to City Council here. As I noted, getting our CRS rating to increase a level. The documentation for our annual CRS report is due at the end of January and the beginning of February. So we would know sometime end of February, maybe beginning of March, whether we were able to increase our level in that regard. And then beyond just the updates that I'm doing on the applications, we're also going to be working with Melissa and with Kat to get these translated into Spanish for our Spanish-speaking members of the public. And if there are other languages that we're able to translate those into, we're happy to look at those as well. So as far as performance metrics, a lot of the work we do is more qualitative rather than quantitative. We have a certain number of cases each month for HARB, Planning Commission, Zoning Hearing Board, what have you. But it's hard to compare those, I think, between the years to say whether, more applications means you're doing better, or whether less applications means you're doing better because you're getting more compliance with our existing regulations. So it's really, I think, difficult for us to apply metrics. That being said, we do track the various inquiries we get, the permits we review. So that's something we're tracking on a monthly level to make sure that, we're processing these things as best we can. It's a little challenging with our current vacancies and the capacity constraints that puts on the department. But we're always looking to, try and find ways to improve our efficiency so that we're able to work better for not just the community, but also for other departments here in the city.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knight. I'm going to open it up to my colleagues for questions. I'm going to start to my right here with Councilwoman Daniels. Any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Davis?
Thank you, Vice President Green. Thank you for being here this evening. So you mentioned you were tracking to improve efficiency. Are you currently using the Munis system?
So we have not started using that yet. I know the consultant that's managing that is taking these things on like a department by department approach, and I think they're working with other departments at the moment. We'll probably be on the back end of the full implementation of that. Now, that being said, we are working with the Codes Bureau to make sure that our information is accurate when it goes into Munis from the current system, so that we're not propagating maybe any issues from the past into the future here. So we are working pretty closely with the Codes Bureau on their implementation of the Munis system.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. President Bowers?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Councilwoman Rawls?
Thank you, Vice President Green. Good evening, Director Knight. I don't have any questions. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much. Councilman Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, my apologies if I break in and out. I'm traveling this evening. But I thank you for, thank you, Mr. Jeff McKnight, for joining us. And I thank you for looking forward to translating those things into Spanish, because it is a heavily populated culture in the community. So thank you for that, and I have nothing further.
Thank you very much. And Councilman Jones?
Thank you, Vice President Green. No questions.
Thank you very much. I just have one question with the two vacancies that have kind of been vacant most of the year. How is the work being split up to make sure it's still being achieved?
So a lot of the monthly meeting work that these other positions would be handling are being managed by me, but a lot of the day-to-day kind of public-facing aspects of these jobs are being handled by our urban planner one.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't have any further questions. Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Knight. You have a great evening.
You too.
Next, we will come back to the top of our agenda and go to the Bureau of Information and Technology. Good evening. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, giving us a departmental overview, and then going through your presentation, then we'll open it for questions.
Sure. Thank you. My name's Steve Bortner, IT Director for the city. Give you a brief overview of the department. We're responsible for basically administration of all of our systems. That includes mainframe network and cloud-based systems. And all city departments utilize the systems that we have deployed. We provide technical support and maintenance for all city-owned devices and network equipment, and this includes desktop PCs, laptops, tablets, and cell phones. We also partner with local, state, and national organizations to help extend and expand the technological capabilities within the city, and we also evaluate emerging technologies to see if they would be a good fit for the systems that we do have deployed, as well as modernize some of the systems that we have. Some of our daily responsibilities include monitoring, resolving the support tickets that come through the help desk every day. We monitor server activity throughout the day, and we also monitor any virus activity and cyber threats that may potentially get into the city. Significant budget changes. There were two accounts that have increases for 2025. The first one is the maintenance services contracts account, and that increased by $483,000. $281,000 of that is for 2024 encumbrances, which were not spent in 2024, but will be spent in 2025. 196,000 is for increases to existing maintenance on purchases that we made in 2024 as well as in previous years. And then the remaining increase is $6,000 for miscellaneous items. And this is our biggest account. There's basically 36 different items or vendors that we work with this specific account. And then the second account is the equipment data processing account. That increased by $735,000. $391,000 of that is for 2024 encumbrances, again, that weren't spent in 2024 but will be in 2025. $190,000 is for an additional data redundancy device that we would put in our secondary data center, which we established earlier this year. And then the remaining $19,000 is for anticipated increases in the annual munis fees. This total is offset by $190,000 on items that we completed in 2024, or the encumbrance would be rolled into 2025. So the completed items are not included in the 2025 budget. The departmental diversity, we have 6 males, one of which is Asian and 1 female. And we have 1 employee that knows Gujarati and Hindi, which are both Indian languages. We have no vacancies in our 2025 budget. And we have no grants or special projects in the budget. We also have no ARPA projects in the budget. And there are no new positions in the 2025 budget. Year-to-date budgets, the 2025 budget does align with our 2024 spending totals, other than the items that were outlined in the budget changes question earlier. And there are no instances where our 2024 spending exceeds what we have in our 2025 budget. And none of our salary increases exceed the 2% for 2025. Departmental highlights, 2024 goals. We implemented the asset maintenance phase of the Munis migration project earlier this year in the VMC, and as of earlier this week, since February, they've entered over 1,200 work orders on vehicles at the VMC. We've also continued work on the remaining phases of that project. Then those phases are human capital management, tax billing and collections, licenses, permits, and codes enforcement, and this kind of addresses the question about the Planning Bureau with Jeff Knight. His will be part of that particular phase. And then the last one is utility billing. We also completed the implementation of our core switch replacement in our primary data center, and that was to eliminate aging hardware and a single point of failure on the network. And as I mentioned, we established a secondary data center at another city facility in case that we do have any hardware issues or infrastructure outages here in our primary data center. We replaced our storage area network with new storage arrays in both our primary and secondary data centers. We improved the overall network speed and reliability for all of the city-owned facilities that are connected to the data center here. And we completed the implementation of the ArcGIS Enterprise platform for our GIS applications. We have more work to do there, but we have the basics in place. And we, earlier this year, I guess back in the summertime, addressed the issues that related to the CrowdStrike update that basically made every city computer inoperable until we applied a patch. So we took care of that as quickly as we could. Goals for 2025 is to implement the remaining phases of the migration project. We want to install the uninterruptible power supply device and upgrade our electrical cabinet in the primary data center. We have already removed the old UPS, and we have started to work on the electrical work in the data center. Several years ago, we converted the historical police data from the mainframe Metro system. We discovered there was some data that was missing, so we're in the process of working through a reconversion of that data into the CODI system. We also want to implement multi-factor authentication for all city employees, which will help to reduce any chance of cybersecurity attacks. And finally, we want to complete another cybersecurity assessment with the Pennsylvania National Guard, and this would kind of see how we did with the recommendations that they made from the previous assessment back in 2023. Performance metrics, we don't have anything specific that we use, but we strive to make sure that connectivity to the network and the internet is available at all times for all employees, and that all of our systems are functioning correctly for all of our users. We also strive to ensure that any of the support tickets that are submitted throughout the week, they're reviewed, evaluated, and resolved in a timely manner to the satisfaction of our various users. And then the additional questions, the equipment data processing budget, that was addressed in the budget changes question. 2025 capital projects, as I mentioned, implement the remaining phases of the Munis migration project and install the UPS and upgrade the electrical cabinet, which both of those have been started. The completed capital projects were described in the highlights question, and the deferred capital projects are included in the proposed 2025 budget, which was addressed in the significant budget changes question.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open it up for questions to my colleagues. I'm going to start to my far left with Councilman Jones.
Thank you. Nice presentation. No questions.
Thank you very much. Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you for the presentation this evening. No questions from me either.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rawls.
Good evening. Thank you for your presentation. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. President Bowers.
Good evening. I just have two questions for you. So you mentioned the remaining phases of the migration. So can you please provide a tentative timeline of the migration from the mainframe?
So the first one is human capital management. That one's taken quite a bit longer. It's more involved than we had anticipated, but at this point, I would envision an early third quarter implementation of that. The second one is utility or tax billing. We're working through a lot of the issues there. I would envision probably second quarter implementation on that. The licenses, permits, and codes enforcement, again, probably second quarter with that one. And then utility billing is the one that we got started last. We have provided them with the data that they need to convert into Munis, and that would probably be a late third quarter, early fourth quarter implementation.
Thank you. And then finally, can you please provide, for the benefit of the public, an update on the Operation Municipal Migration Steering Committee?
So we do have a steering committee comprised of 8 members. Over the late spring, early summer, early fall months, we did not meet, primarily because we had 2 members who were not there. Now that we have a new BA on board, we have resumed those. We have had 2 meetings since then. We have another one on Monday, and we'll try to keep to our every 2-week meeting schedule that we have had in place prior to that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you, Vice President Green. Good evening, Mr. Bordner. Thank you for being here. I just have one question. Are we currently incorporating the iCloud computing or any artificial intelligence in the technology?
That's an area we have not done a lot of research into yet. With everything else going on, we haven't devoted a lot of time, but it is something that is definitely out there, something we are gonna have to evaluate at some point in the near future, and I'm hoping at some point in 2025, we can get that started.
Otherwise, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Daniels, any questions? Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation tonight, and thank you for all the work you do.
Thank
Next, we will hear from the Department of Building and Housing.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Council. I'm Gloria Martin Roberts, Interim Director of the Department of Community, Economic Development, and Building and Housing. This evening, we are going to cover the Department of Community, Economic Development's business and economic development area. This is the only area in the department related to the general fund. And with that, our goal is to create thriving commercial corridors, increase economic vitality, healthy neighborhoods, create thriving commercial corridors, increase economic vitality in underserved areas, and assist, promote, and encourage job creation, industrial activity, and entrepreneurship within the city. The first question here, please provide an explanation or justification for any line item that has significantly increased or decreased compared to the 2024 allocation. There are no increases. Decreases due to the general fund percentage of the two director positions changing during the year, so we saw a decrease in that. Our department diversity, we have 2 black females and 2 black males. We have no vacancies in that area. Provide an update on any grants or special projects in progress within each department. We are currently working on identifying stakeholders that will be a part of an economic development committee so that we can redefine a document, I think, that was given to you probably last year or maybe the beginning of this year, which was an outline provided by Jason Graves, giving basically an outline of those areas that he felt should be addressed in an economic and business development plan. That is not, this is not an approved plan that was given to you. This was a document that entertained the areas that we should be addressing in the city. And those areas would be items that we would be discussing in a committee that would also involve council as well as stakeholders throughout the city. We have no ARPA projects in business resource development. We have no new positions for 2025. The question, does the current budget proposal for 2025 align with the year-to-date spending tools incurred thus far for 2024? Yes. The operational budget is the same as 2024. Are there any instances where current year-to-date spending in 2024 significantly exceeds the proposed budgeted line items for 2025? No, there are none. There's no positions receiving more than a 2% increase. In terms of that area's highlights, you're asking that we explain the 2024 goals and the progress made. Jason Grave completed the development of a draft economic development strategic outline. Again, that was the document I think that was given to you. It was before my time here, so I'm not sure when it was circulated to you. I'm sorry?
During the 2024 budget hearings.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's the document that he completed. The goal for 2025 is again to convene a committee of stakeholders to develop a comprehensive economic development plan. And we want to use that draft that Jason provided as a stepping stone for the committee to begin their work. The examples of a performance metric: I hold weekly staff meetings, one-on-one meetings, weekly written reports, and quarterly reports.
Thank you very much, and that was for the Bureau of Business and Resource Development.
That was for economic community and economic development, yes.
All right. And so we don't have any updates from Building and Housing, although I do understand that majority of the tasks that are completed in there are funded through a HUD budget that runs October to October, if I'm correct. I do believe the ARPA programs run out of the Building and Housing Department, which do come out of the general fund.
We have a home ARPA program. That is the only ARPA program that is in the department. It houses 2 employees, and it is a home program that provides home rehab to the citizens in the city of Harrisburg. It's an application process. When I came on board, they had just put out a call for applications. We received 250 applications. We have reviewed 45 of those applications. 5 projects are in place. One of the challenges is that we have several home programs, but we don't have enough contractors oftentimes to meet the needs of the requests that we get in. So it appears to be a slow process, but the process is because we don't always have, we're sharing contractors between 3 different home programs. However, staff are reviewing those applications to make sure that people are eligible to receive rehab services. And that's it for that program.
Okay, perhaps I'm mistaken as to which departments they run out of, but I thought there was an affordable housing development program that was funded through the ARPA funds that the city got. I thought it was like 4 or 5 different programs that were going to run out of the Department of Building and Housing. I can't think of them off the top of my,
You're correct.
I
It
know
was
there were.
home repairs, bridge housing, and the senior program, but it's not listed here. But yes, you are correct. There is an affordable housing program that should be operating out of this department as well.
You're talking about the HRP program
No,
that has been in existence?
No.
I'm talking about when the city received ARPA funds and we went through the town halls and we did the whole thing and.
I
and
wasn't
council-
here for that. That's
Right,
what I meant.
but in your department, there
In
are
my
several
department,
programs
we
that are
have-
supposed to run out of it. So I'm not sure if you don't know of the
Bridge
programs.
housing, those are the dollars that were given to Christian Churches United and Downtown Daily Bread. They each received $500,000 to open their doors 365 days for the homeless population.
Can we backtrack? Are we open to questions? 'Cause I
I'm going to open it up
wanted
to questions from
clarify.
my colleagues. I'll start
Thank
with
you.
President Bowers.
Thank you. So I wanted to clarify, since we are now talking about ARPA funding, but I do have some other questions for you. So first, I wanted to clarify, are you serving as the interim director or the director?
I am serving as the interim director.
Okay. Will you introduce yourself during our legislative session just the other day as the director. So I wanted to clarify because you've been employed now for 6 months and 6 days. So that exceeds the 120-day. You're laughing, but I'm being serious because I thought that this
I'm not
was.
laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it seems to be an issue with this council, how long I'm going to be here.
Well,
And
you said when you first arrived, I don't mean to interrupt, but you did note that this was going to be a short-term stay. So I think I'm just trying to gain clarification. 6 months and 6 days is much longer than.
Well, let me say this. I apologize if I said a director, it is interim.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Secondly, in terms of my time here as interim, the mayor makes that decision. And for as long as she needs me to correct all of the things that have been outstanding in that department, and there were many HUD violations that I can provide you proof if you need it, that have not been done, and some very major things that put our federal funding at risk. And so for as long as the mayor needs me there to clean up that department, I will remain there.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that the department was in shambles before you arrived because I thought, given the glowing commentary from the mayor and other members of the administration, that the former director was the end-all be-all. So I'm sorry to hear that it was in shambles and now it's coming together since you arrived.
Well, I wasn't here, so I don't know what the mayor said in terms of the former director. I only know what I have to deal with and what I've been dealing with, and like I said, I'd be more than happy to update you on all those things.
Okay. I'd like to move to, I do have building and housing questions regarding the department's diversity complement and if any of the current employees are bilingual.
I have one person now, I had two currently, but I have one person now that's bilingual.
Okay. Regarding the lead program, what is the status of the lead program?
The lead program has received notification that we will be getting another lead grant. We have, the director will be leaving December 31st, he's retiring. But he has made a recommendation to us on someone that could just get in, take his place, because that person has been involved with the lead program for many years. That position requires HUD approval. So even if we, interview, we find that person acceptable, HUD has to approve the hiring of that person.
Okay. How many families have been served through this program?
In terms of lead?
Yes.
Well, let me say that I didn't come prepared to do data on the lead program because it's not under the general fund. I was directed that these questions would be related to the general fund. I'll be more than happy to provide that information to you tomorrow.
I do understand that. However, annually we do ask questions regarding the lead program and the home program outside of the general fund questions because we do know that as it's been noted, the majority of the funding is federal funding. Okay, and then the final question regarding the lead program was, have we met our benchmarks? But I'm assuming we have since we've been granted another.
Yes, the lead program has been very, very successful.
I know.
High raves from HUD, and we have been, and I'll include that in the information for you tomorrow, but we have received the highest grant in the nation this time.
Well, that's excellent. And I know we took on some work with the state with their grant as well. So that's good to know. I'll just relay the questions regarding the home program and wait to receive a response. I'm curious the status of the home program, how many families have been served through this program, have we met our benchmarks, were any local businesses contracted through this program, Harrisburg-based specifically, and were any minority-owned or women-owned businesses contracted through this program?
Okay. Now, which home program are you asking for that data for?
The home program that's been in existence forever and
HRP.
ever, the HRP, yes, the home repair program. Now, switching gears to the ARPA funding, since that was a discussion, I wanted to note that we've been trying to have this conversation. We first invited you on September 10th to a work session. You were not present, but you did send an email. So the programs that I was referencing, minus the affordable housing program, all are under your purview. So the home repairs, that's the specific ARPA one. The bridge housing, which we've already acted upon, and the senior programs.
And the senior program is the one that you have had discussion about Heinz funding?
Yes, that was initially Resolution 77, but as we noted, that appropriation was removed from that resolution. So we're expecting, I assume, another reallocation, a separate reallocation to come down for further discussion there.
Okay. I did find out in my research that the Lick building is under rehabilitation. So it has nobody living there, so they have no program. I call it HHA.
That was shared during the presentation,
Right.
public comment the other day. So going back to affordable housing, since it is or isn't under your purview, I don't know. But I do know that there are 2 project managers that are operating out of your office that are designated specifically for these programs. We haven't had an opportunity to hear from them either. So we're just trying to get an idea of the status of this funding. I think that if affordable housing is truly a priority for this administration, then some action should be taken. There are shovel-ready projects that are waiting on this ARPA funding to complete the projects. There is an outstanding home, if we go back to the home funding from 2019 that was never dispersed. It's my understanding you're working on this for a project that recently had a ribbon cutting, but they're still waiting on the funding. Yes.
Are you talking about Bethel
No.
and TLC?
Yes, I'm talking about TLC.
And that's not ARPA funding. That's
I know it's not
community
ARPA funding.
development money. That's-
It's home funding from 2019.
I have not been, all I know is I have the project that's waiting for funding from the Community Development Block Grant, from the federal side, home. And the issue with it is, there are certain requirements that HUD has before any of these projects can break ground. There were 3 major things that had to be done before they had permission to even break ground. Those things were not done. HUD cited us on those things. I'm in negotiations with HUD now to try to explain that we had, a person leave, that these things were not done, and asking basically for a reprieve so that we can provide funding or pay TLC for their home. That's the status of that.
Thank you. I just had one other question, and then I'll defer. My question is related to the economic development draft plan that you mentioned. Now, Mayor Williams, during her budget address, shared that you found the economic development plan to be inaccurate. I did ask why. She told me that you're smart, so I wanted to ask you myself, why did you find this plan to be inaccurate?
Well, yeah, let me say that the plan, it's not that the plan is inaccurate.
Okay.
It's not a plan. It was never intended to be a formalized plan. It's an outline that was provided by Mr. Grave as a starting point to begin to talk about and discuss economic development in the city, giving some basic guidelines of what cities do to improve economic development, the areas that are like type municipalities as ours, and so forth. So that's the difference. It's not a plan. It was meant to be an outline. He can speak to that.
Is that accurate, Mr. Graves?
Yes, that is
Okay.
accurate.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for providing that
You're welcome.
clarification. Because I know that you did spend some time, right, putting that together. So, and I wanted to clarify the authority you had to deem that it was inaccurate. So thank you for clarifying that it was not a plan, simply an outline. I don't think I have any other questions. I think you provided clarity on the things I needed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, President Bowers. I'm going to start the questioning to my far left with Councilman Jones.
Thank you. Yeah, just regarding the TLC, from the understanding, after looking into some of this in 2019, as President Bowers stated, this money was already supposed to be awarded to TLC. And then the new administration came in, and something didn't happen with that money. So could you tell me again what you're saying about that
I'm
600,000?
telling you, I don't know anything about that. I will have to check that out. Like I said, I am fraught with a lot of things that were not done. And I will check it out and get back with you. That's the best I can do. I can tell you this, that I am fighting very hard to get HUD to approve the $600,000, because that's what we're talking about. That goes to TLC, because they have done a fine job. I did tell HUD that they were an outstanding developer. We don't want them to walk away from our city and not want to continue to help us revitalize our city and build our city up. And so I'm waiting to get a response from them. I have had to send to them other requests for workout plans for things that were not taken care of. I'm happy to announce that last week they gave me approval on those 2 plans. So I'm waiting to hear from HUD on this. And as far as the 2019, I'll have to get back with you.
Okay, so I'll just hold my questions until we actually get you and your team in front of us, and some of the questions that President Bowers presented. So I have no further questions.
Thank you very much. Councilman Rodriguez?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you, Ms. Gloria Martin Roberts, for
You're
joining us
welcome.
this evening. I just had a similar question to Madam President. I was just concerned about the statements with Mr. Graves. Just highly alarming when they say maybe a director is inaccurate or the work they've done wasn't right. So that just kind of threw my antennas up. But thank you, Ms. Gloria, for being on top of it. I just look forward to seeing how that unfolds. No further questions for me. Thank you.
And you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Rawls?
Good evening to you both. Thank you for being here. Most of my questions have been asked and answered, and I know you'll be sending us information. The only additional question that I had was, I know you had mentioned that with the economic plan, the outline, that there would be some type of committee formed. So I guess I would have 2 questions with that. When would the committee be formed? What's the timeline for that? And what exactly will that outline look like? Like, what are the things that they will be exactly working on? Because we got that a while ago. So just to refresh.
So what's going to be actually asked upon as far as anybody who's being a part of the committee, basically everything that's actually in the outline. So we'll break everything down to work groups, preferably with everybody that's basically from the councils that's going to be involved with this, because you are different committees and you also do represent the city of Harrisburg in itself. So we will be I will probably like to meet with each one of you guys and actually figure out who wants to be a part of what group, so we can actually break things down and actually start these committees going forward. So I know I've been with Representative Jones to a couple of community council meetings, and also a couple other committees across the city. So it's just trying to figure out who can actually be involved in the work group, because we don't want to overwhelm it to the point where we're getting bombarded with a bunch of different things. Just trying to keep it streamlined to the basics so we can actually grow upon that.
Okay. And when do you think, like, you would want to say, yes, this committee is formed?
So I would love to have something form, preferably around the time, probably within the second month of the first quarter. That'd be great. If I can actually, I will send each one of you probably individual email, probably directed to Mr. Truesdale, to actually sit down and talk about a timeline when we can actually start.
Okay. And would members of the community be invited to be in this group? Of
Yes.
course, council, but okay.
Yes. So along with a couple other, like the several committees I'm involved with, we've been having discussions about this. So it's just picking basically individual people so we can actually have a group committee versus just having multiple people in different groups. So it's not overwhelming.
Yes, correct. So you're saying you would have different groups
Yes.
with multiple people, so
Yes.
it's not.
And I would love, that's
Okay.
like saying, I would love each of you to be a part of those groups, because since you do represent each part of committees and also represents the city as well.
Okay. Yes, I'm very interested in that, whether I'm in the group or just more updates
Yes.
about it. I think we truly do need some type of economic plan for Harrisburg. We're the capital, and I don't think that enough is happening with us being the capital city. I think there is so much more that we have to offer. And it is just, we're not moving. I feel like we need to move forward much more than we are. We have a lot of forward thinkers. We need to hear what our community members have to say. People here at City Hall have this. I mean, there are just so many things I feel like Harrisburg could be doing, and how we could be more progressive and moving into the 21st century. So I am very interested in seeing what this economic development plan is going to look like, what these focus groups are going to look like, and how we move forward. So
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Because again, we have to show more than we are just the capital. So we do have to. The thing is, we have to work together. I know that's been a long-standing thing amongst the city of Harrisburg. You have a lot of different groups, and you have a lot of different individuals looking for basically self-serving things. So how do we actually pull everything together to actually work together as one to make things happen?
yeah, I completely agree. And I also think that we can be the blueprint for a lot of stuff. We don't have to be what every other city is, but that we can implement our own things that are for us, and people come to us and say, well, how did you do that? So I think that is something, we can be the innovators as well. So thank you. I look forward to updates and keeping us posted on that and how we can all be a part of it. So thank you.
No
That's it for me.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Davis?
Thank you, Vice President Green. My questions have been answered, and I'll just wait. We talk, and I'll wait for the updates to come out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Daniels? Thank you. I don't really have any questions. I will say it's more of a statement. I'm a little disappointed that we haven't made as much progress as I thought we would have with the economic development plan. It's been about a year to the day since we got the original outline. I know that it was supposed to be a presentation given to the ICA March, April time. I know the ICA said that they offered to help us with the development of the economic plan. I know this is something they've really been pushing for, and especially with the city's past as a economically distressed city. It's important for us to have that blueprint for us to be able to move forward with. So I'm just disappointed that we haven't made as much progress as I thought we would, because that was a pretty robust outline. And to say that we still have that same outline 365 days later kind of just seems like it went and sat on a shelf somewhere, and it felt like what it looked like, which was lip service. So a year later, it feels like it was lip service. You gave us a document to say you had a document, and nothing was done from there. And we also have to think about the way that a true economic development plan impacts the city, because it should impact our zoning updates, right? We are looking to update our zoning code if we want to have that mixed income, that mixed use type of infrastructure. That should be part of our economic development plan. That should be driving the way. Mr. Knight was just here talking about the comprehensive plan that was started way before it was passed in 2020. And that should be integrated into our economic development plan, but it should also drive the updates to our comprehensive plan. Right now, essentially, without updating the comprehensive plan, without a true economic development plan, it kind of seems like we're letting developers and whoever decides to come into the city run the show as to what the city's future is going to look like, and that's truly not acceptable. So I'll just say that I'm greatly disappointed, and I look forward to this committee being developed and true work being done in 2025, because we're in year 4 of this administration. I know a lot of work has been being done, but I think this is one of the most foundational things that we need to do in order to really drive our city in the right direction and say we have a plan and know where we're going, so that we can actually measure ourselves. Because if not, we can say all these great things. We've got all these buildings going up. We've got all these new things going on, but without a plan, it's just kind of like a chaotic mess driven by people from outside the city. And that's not what we need. It's not what the residents of Harrisburg deserve, to make for sure that their future is secure as well. So I look forward to seeing that come, and let's actually get the work done this year.
Councilwoman, I appreciate those comments because I have talked to the members of the ICA board also, and you are absolutely correct. They're not pleased with the fact that they're not pleased with the document that we have. They don't believe that's a real document. That, like you said, it's lip service, and I couldn't agree with you more. But we will be moving forward.
Thank you. I look forward to that.
I would like to make one comment on that. I do understand where everybody is coming from, the people who do think it's lip service, but I wouldn't say it's not actually lip service. A lot of the plans that have been going up as far as the buildings and some of the committees and stuff, they're actually formulating plans across the city are going to be a part of this plan. These are also committees and part of developments that I've actually been a part of to make them actually happen. And again, I have to actually state I'm only one person. So that's why I also want to state that I actually do want to work with everybody. And I do, and everybody knows, for the most part here, you can probably mention me to somebody within the city and know who I am or actually spoken with me or actually needs to contact with me. So I do understand, I do appreciate the comment, and yes, I will try to buckle down a little bit more and try to streamline a little bit more things and try to zone in, but I am just one person.
All right, and please don't take it as like
Oh, no,
a
I'm-
personal attack
oh,
or that
no,
we
no,
don't
no, not at
appreciate the
all.
work you do. I do understand you are one person, and sometimes it just is, having that singular focus. And this is the most important thing, in my position right now, is really focusing on this. And I'll say, at least for me, I think that that's something we really need to make for sure that we focus on, because I think it'll really help move everything else a little easier. And really, just create that plan so that, you don't have to do it all, step by step each time. It's kind of that plan laid out. And then 2, I'll say this not just about your position, but about any position. We have to make sure we have these plans in place to make sure that legacy continues, because you hit the lottery today, no guarantee you'll be here tomorrow. And if all the knowledge leaves with you, then it doesn't do us any good, so. But please don't take it wrong, I do appreciate the work. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you all for your presentation tonight. Looks like that covered the Bureau of Building and Housing and the Bureau of Business and Resource Development. Next, we will move on to the Bureau of Communications. Good evening.
Hello, City Council. I'd like to introduce myself. I am Michelle Moyer. I am the new Director of Communications. I'm 7 days old today, so go easy on me. Melissa is graciously going to give the report. Obviously, I did not have the data, but I definitely wanted to introduce myself and say hello to all of you.
Good afternoon, President Bowers, City Council members. It is an honor for me to be here and present a communication budget. The Department Overview. The Bureau of Communications is responsible for internal and external communications and marketing for government operations of the City of Harrisburg. is responsible for graphic, photo, video, audio, and information services like City 311 system and Atrium Help Desk. The Bureau organizes news conferences, issues new releases, newsletters, and media advisories, as well as online and social media communications. The Bureau Communications also manages media relations and multilingual services such as document translations and in-house interpretations, organize informational events and campaigns, manage the WHBG Channel 20, the government access to cable television channels and stations, and keep the city official website up to date. Departmental diversity. Race and ethnicity, 2 white females, 1 white male, 1 black male, 2 Hispanic Latino females, bilingual, 2 Spanish speakers, multilingual, 1 intermediate French, and novice in Chinese speaker. Significant budget change. There are no vacancies, there are no ARPA projects, there are no new positions, there are no roles with salary increases exceeding the 2%. Year-to-date budgets. Question. Does the current budget proposal for 2025 align with the YTD spending totals incurred thus far in 2024? Yes, our budget is based on trends that are consistent. However, our contracted services and supplies accounts have slightly increased for 2025. Year-to-date budgets. Are there any instances where current YTD spending in 2024 significantly exceeds the proposed budgeted line items for 2025? No, there are no current lines of spending for 2024 that significantly exceeds the proposed budget. Nevertheless, we will be increasing our office equipment line for 2024 approved amount of $6,000 to $15,000. WHBG Channel 20 needs upgrade to the studio, cameras, and studio lighting to LED fixtures, and we cannot assume Comcast is going to address this in the new franchise agreement. 2024 departmental highlights. Our primary goal in 2024 has been the redesign of harrisburgpa.gov, which will be launching next year. We have continued to work towards a new franchise agreement with Comcast. The Law Bureau is leading these efforts. Channel 20 has produced 120 videos and 70 live streaming, including planning meetings, city council meetings, press conference, and the holiday parade. Channel 20 has made updates to our studio space, including temporarily walls that they are building in collaboration with the facilities department, which gives the studio a new modern look. We led a second conversational Spanish class in June with 2 different schedules, morning and evening. The Spanish series was launched in July to provide easy access to important permits and business licenses. Translated 25 documents into Spanish for the COSO Bureau, Health Office, Events, and City Engineering, and provide interpretations of an average of 100 cases per month through the city government. This is the one-stop shop look for our new website. Okay, next one. This is some of our content that we had in Channel 20. What is the work? Harrisburg is the talk show. We had studio sessions that's showcasing performers, and we have employee spotlight at 10 questions. We also had a help in Harrisburg, a mental health discussions, and we had a Harrisburg Health Minute that it was on the summer. That is a little tips for diet and to get a summer apps. Harrisburg Informant. It was a Spanish series that we helped residents to get connected with permits and easy access links. Okay, so that was a different slide. Yes, so we had Gary Gillian, that is a building a bridge. That was one of our videos that it was more popular in Channel 20. We had a holiday parade. We had a conversational Spanish series flyer. And we also participate this year in the multicultural table at the Capona event. 2025 goals. Resume what is the work Harrisburg. This will be presented by our new director of communications, who is excited to come out with a new content. The Channel 20 team is working to increase audience, subscribers, and followers on all social media channels. Our deputy director of communications is currently working on a pilot website Spanish class for the codes departments. We're also currently learning to utilize the WhatsApp Business instant messaging to offer to our Spanish-speaking residents who need quick information access using the 311 system. Performance metrics. Are there any example of specific metrics, benchmarks departments use to evaluate the success of their goals in 2025? Annual performance review. We generate monthly reports based on subscribers, visitor log, and program content. In Channel 20 on YouTube, we have 1,400 subscribers, and we can see the trend of how many views do we have. We had an average of 55,000 views in the video. We had also Facebook, that we had 21,000 subscribers, and the average of views is 164,000. We had X, we had 6,120 followers. We had Instagram with 3,704 followers. We had MailChimp, that is our newsletter, 3,279 subscribers. More than 361 tickets resolved in the 311 help desk. Martin Luther King visitor logs, 368 people on average week. Question: what is the purpose of the $10,000 allocated for miscellaneous contract services? Archive Social is a social media archiving cloud that tracks record requests and compliance. It is a beneficial insurance policy in case the city ever has its social media subjected to the right to know law. This service costs $7,500. The rest, that is $2,500, will be covering 311 system and Verizon bills. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm going to open it up to questions. I'm going to start to my right with Councilwoman Daniels.
This isn't budget related, but for my edification, when does the Comcast franchise agreement when does it need to be renewed?
That expired in 2020, and we are right now working with a law bureau that maybe that could provide you a better update.
Yeah, it is expired, but they just continue to make the payments under the agreement. It's one of the things that has been backburnered just because of volume of other things, because it's an ongoing, the relationship doesn't change at all like other contracts that end. So they've had various people assigned that have come and gone. We've had various people assigned that have come and gone. So there's just been a lot of stops and starts along the way. And the last attorney who worked on it for us departed here several months ago. And he had reopened the negotiations with them, with their new person. He had two different people he negotiated with. And that's really the last thing that's happened. So it just has to be put back on the table to be finalized.
That's it for me, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you, Vice President Green. Good evening, and thank you for your presentation. I don't have any questions.
Thank you. President Bowers.
I have, I think, two questions. The first is related to, so during the time when the former communications director left and 7 days ago when you arrived, who was managing the bureau?
Me.
You were?
Yes.
Okay. And there was nobody else that you had to report to?
I was reporting directly to the mayor.
Okay. Just want to clarify that. Thank you. And then my other question is related to press releases. I know that, are they all housed on the website, or is there somewhere else the members of the public and residents can view press releases?
We do publish press releases on the website mainly. We also had a media contact that we send email, a mass email, as well. Some depends on when, for example, it's important meetings that we are handling in the city. We also post it on Facebook and X as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they were posted on social media. I was looking for one. I think that was sent out either yesterday or today, and I couldn't find it.
Usually meetings, we post it on the social media, meetings.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ross.
Good evening. Welcome to you both, and welcome new to the city. Thank you for being here tonight. I don't have any questions. Just look forward to, I guess, you coming in front of us for communications one time, just to let us know what your vision is, what your plan is for the city, and what goals you have in the communications department.
I would love to do that. I didn't know if you would want it or not. I did bring my resume, and the job description. And, I do also, I don't have copies of it, but I do have a 30, 60, 90-day vision for the communications department.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. I'm sure someone will contact you about how you can, like when we could hear that from you, or you would send it to us, because I know tonight is mainly about budgeting, which, I mean, your goals does go into that, but I look forward to hearing, the plans you have for the city.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you for joining us. I look forward to following, the work you'll be doing in communications. I looked up a bit, and I appreciate the work you've done in recovery. Just look forward to hearing more plans from the Department of Communications, and that's all I had as far as my sentiments. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Jones.
Thank you. No questions.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions for you myself. Thank you for introducing yourself to us. Thank you for the work that you've done, stepping into those shoes as it was vacant. So we appreciate that, going above and beyond, and for your presentation tonight. Thank you. Next, we will be speaking to the Bureau of Licensing, Taxation, and Central Support.
Excuse me, sir, you're supposed to give them out in the wrong order. I'm sorry, they're customized for us. Thank you.
I didn't catch the word. Public Works here. I didn't get one person to write one by chance, huh? I didn't have the name wrong.
You're with us.
Who would have thought? I don't remember the name.
Good evening. Whenever you're ready, please feel free to introduce yourself, give us an overview of your department, and then your presentation. Then we'll open it up for questions.
Yes, good evening, City Council. Mike Hughes, Tax Administrator, and with me I have Janelle Ward, the Deputy Tax Administrator. We'll start off with the department overview. Briefly describe what your department does. The Bureau of Licensing, Taxation, and Central Support bills and collects mercantile, business privilege, parking, and amusement taxes, as well as various license fees for the city and the Harrisburg School District. This unit also administers the dog licensing program and manages all activities associated with the city's burglar and fire alarm program. A civil collection program is in place to collect all delinquent taxes. The Bureau also includes the Duplication Center, which is responsible for the handling of the daily mail, incoming and outgoing, specialty mailing such as trash bills and property taxes, processing print jobs for all city departments, and the distribution of office supplies. Our mission statement, the mission of the Tax Enforcement Office is to administer the City of Harrisburg's Local Act 511 tax and licensing programs fairly, efficiently, and accurately while providing top quality service by helping taxpayers understand and meet their tax responsibilities. We also strive to enforce the law by precisely and rapidly collecting current and delinquent tax revenue and license fees. In addition, I just wanted to add, we also collect revenue for the police department, which is actually dog license and false alarms, along with the fire false alarms. We also collect health license and fire prevention fees for the codes department, and zoning fees for new city-based businesses. The significant budget changes, really, we just have one. We were decreasing our filing fees by $30,000. The explanation, we had anticipated more court filings at both the county and MDJ levels, and that didn't occur this past year. There's also was some shifting of our paralegals' time due to increased landlord-related activity, along with additional delays in the service from the court, both via mail and or sheriff or constable. There was also increased turnover at the local MDJ office that we use in the staffing, and that kind of slowed down the whole process for us. In addition, I don't have it there, I'm sorry, but there was also, you know, the vacant collections attorney in the Law Bureau that we were using earlier in the year. She got promoted, so we lost that person at that point in time. But overall, our budget is actually down from last year. So, on to departmental diversity. We have 6 females and 1 male, 2 black and brown, and 5 white. Our age range is from 28 to 64. We have 1 bilingual employee. I'll also add, I've been a city resident for over 30 years. And also that the range of employment of our employees ranges from 2 years to 33 years. We do not have any vacancies in our department. Grants and special projects isn't applicable, neither is the ARPA projects, or no new positions, okay. Year-to-date budgets, the current budget proposal for 25 does align with the year-to-date spending. Totals incurred thus far in 24, yes. Are there any instances where current year-to-date spending in 24 significantly exceeds the proposed budget line items for 25? No. On to roles exceeding 2%. None of our management positions exceeded the 2% increase. We completed the evaluation process. On to departmental highlights. Our 2024 goals and progress that was made. The first goal was to continue to increase revenue over the prior years through active collections. And when we get to the end, we will show initial slides of our revenue to address this. So, second was to continue to implement the Tyler Munis system in hopes of providing more efficient service and additional payment options for taxpayers. As Steve from IT spoke, you know, we're still in the process of implementing that. He's forecasting second quarter of next year for our section. Also under there, we had to continue to direct customers to use the currently available online value pay system. And we have noticed in the daily reports that more and more people are taking advantage of that option for license renewals. And we had also added basically advertisement on the back of our license renewals on how to use the online payment system. So that seems to be working better. So, additionally, we wanted to continue to improve customer service to accommodate taxpayers with our office hours, which are 8 to 4:30, which exceed the building hours, while also timely answering phone calls, emails, and sending out written correspondence. You know, taxpayers regularly do provide us with feedback, whether it's in person or email, and in regard to the options that we have available and how timely we are with our responses. Unfortunately, you know, we do get complaints when people show up in person and it's after 2:30 a particular day, and we can't accept cash or credit, and we can't send them to Treasury. Next, we wanted to finalize the ongoing transition of scanning all of our internal documents and clean up the old accounts. We've made a large dent in that, but that is still continuing. We have quite a large number of old documents that we're catching up on the scanning with. We would also like to see some of our higher dollar civil collection cases move forward into the county court. Some progress has been made in 2024, however, this is still ongoing. As for our goals in 2025, we want to continue to promote voluntary tax compliance through education, communication, and service. We also want to continue to transform the customer service experience and modernize the IT systems to improve and enhance tax administration and collection. The two of those kind of go hand in hand together, and both will be linked once we get the new Munis system platform up and operating. We also want to continually improve collection efforts and revenue for the city. For performance metrics, we'll show you this in our upcoming revenue slides. Our key performance indicators include tracking collections revenue year over year, along with meeting and or exceeding the budgeted revenue benchmarks. While it's harder to measure our customer service, I do stay abreast on the positive and any negative comments customers may have in regards to our service, hours, ease of making payments, and any other general comments that are mentioned when we have interactions with customers. We did not have any additional questions, and now we'll move on to our revenue slide. All right, the first slide it shows our larger revenue items that we collect. And I'll direct you to the bottom line of the overall revenue of these items. If you see in 2020, we brought in 6.9 million of these combined items, and it's been a continual increase all the way up through 2023 to 7.8. And we're also at 7.8 for 2024. However, we still have the month of December, and I'm forecasting we should hit 8 million by the end of this month. But in addition to that, with our other revenue that we collect, we annually bring in over $10 million in total with all our license items and all the other things we collect on. All right, so we're going to go into the specifics of the individual taxes. The mercantile tax, you can see here back in 2020, we started at 2.9 million, and it rose up to 3.2 in 2022, and then it leveled off in 23, and 24 is a little below that number at the moment. And I'm going to speak about this at the end of the presentation on why those numbers are what they are. We were expecting them to be higher, and I'll talk about why they probably are. So, but if we move on to the next slide, this was our prior year delinquent taxes. Coming out of the pandemic, that spiked because we had all that extra time to devote to this without customers coming in. So that number really spiked and hit, $500,000, and then it went back down and has since leveled out and kept consistent that way. So similar to the penalty, also kind of spiked coming out of the pandemic on that collection, went back down, and now has started an upward trend since then. Interest is the same, spiking after the pandemic and then dropping back down and remaining consistent since. So now, as far as amusement tax, we hit an all-time low during the pandemic because there was no public events happening. So since the pandemic, it's continued to rise strongly. And in fact, in 2024, we hit an all-time record in the history of the amusement tax. We're at 421,000. So, as far as the parking tax, during the pandemic, this started dipping down, and then started to get a slow recovery in 2022. Some slow increments into 23, and we're in the position right now in 2024 Factoring in what I anticipate through December, we should be up to 3.9 million by year end of 2024. So it will continue to show that increase. However, we still haven't gotten back to where we were in 2019 pre-pandemic. We were at about 4.2 million back in 2019. You don't see it on the slide, but that's where we were. You know, attribute a lot of this to the remote working and the impact it has had on the parking. The next slide shows the revenue this year that we've collected for the school district, both in mercantile and amusement taxes. And you're familiar with that. We just had the contract last week. So we have additional miscellaneous statistics, show our auditing collections for the current year, over 800,000, which our deputy tax administrator collected through audits. Our 2 paralegals through civil collections. They attended 31 hearings at the MDJ level, and they collected over 500,000 in taxes from those cases. Year to date, we've also issued 456 mercantile licenses, 141 landlord licenses, and 178 vendor licenses. Next slide, we have some statistics from our duplication center. There was over 360,000 copies that were run in the duplication center in 2024. We had over 35,000 pieces of specialty mail that went out, 141,572 trash bills that went out year to date, and there was 234,369 other pieces of mail that went out through the year to date, and the costs associated with them. So at this point, I would like to reiterate some of the positive revenue accomplishments that our office has achieved. Overall revenue collection continues to consistently increase year over year. Amusement tax is at an all-time high after dipping to its lowest total during the pandemic, and parking tax is on a slow slope upward. I've also witnessed our team take more initiative in assisting, training, and collaborating with other departments to more comprehensively address issues that we come across. I'm proud of our team and how they have persevered through adversity during the past 2 years. While our overall total revenue collection has increased, we have shown some dips or stagnant numbers pertaining to the mercantile tax graphs, as you saw. The numbers for 23 and 24 have been very difficult to piece together since the Treasury has not entered and allocated these payments to the proper individual tax accounts or to the proper line items, which include current year tax, prior year delinquent tax, interest, and penalty. Instead, these monies were segregated to a holding account. As a result, we were forced to create our own tracking mechanism for tax returns and payments received while making over 10,000 detailed payment entries before sending the tax returns and payments down the Treasury for deposit. Any tax returns and payments that were made directly to Treasury via the Dropbox or the mail during this time were not forwarded to our office. Thus, a small percentage of revenue for 23 and 24 is unaccounted for in our numbers. The additional time that our deputy had to spend coding all this revenue significantly impacted the time that we should have devoted to revenue and license generating activities. We were notified by the treasurer at the end of July 2024 that he has now instructed his staff to start entering payments properly as they did prior to 2023. In conclusion, I'd like to thank my team, which includes Candy, Lexi, Carrera, Tyra, Brenda, and most importantly, my deputy, Janelle. They continue to find ways to improve customer service, increase revenue collection, streamline processes, train and assist other departments, and work towards the greater good of city government. It's important to note that the majority of the tax money that we do collect is not borne by city residents. Now I'll take any questions.
Thank you very much. And as always, thank you very much for the thorough presentation and all the information you provide to us. I'm going to open up to questions. I'll start to my right here with Councilwoman Daniels.
No questions, thank you.
Councilwoman Davis.
Thank you, Vice President Green. Thank you for being here, Director Bordner and Ms. Ward. Did I say, I'm sorry, Mr. Hughes,
Thank you.
Director Hughes. I wrote Director Hughes down and I said something else. No, I just wanted to thank you for your presentation and thank you for continuing to look for ways to improve customer service and ways that our citizens can pay their taxes. But otherwise, it was a great presentation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. President Bowers.
I don't have any questions. Again, thank you for our aesthetically pleasing presentation in a folder annually. We look forward to it, so thank you for that. And thank you for the information regarding Treasury and the small percentage of revenue that's missing. So thank you for that caveat there. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ross.
Good evening to you both. Thank you for being here. I don't have any questions. Thank you for your thorough presentation.
Councilman Rodriguez.
No questions. Take the presentation.
Thank you. Councilman Jones.
I guess I'll break the no questions.
All right. I don't have any questions either. Once again, thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your candid honesty about the different things going on in the building, especially with the Treasury's office. I will say the times that I've interacted with your office, it's been nothing but a pleasure. I hear that from residents all the time as well. And so hopefully we can find a way to alleviate some of the things with the Treasury office, to just make things more convenient for the residents, making sure that they're able to make any and all payments without being inconvenienced of having to get off early or figure out a different way to get in here. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, I think that wraps up most of our bureaus here and will take us down to the general expenses and transfers and then the other funds.
Well, good job, guys.
Good evening. Whenever you're ready, you can begin your presentation.
Okay. Very good. Good evening, City Council members. Thank you, President Bowers and Vice President Green. Brian McCutcheon, Accounting Manager. And I'm calling upon Mr. Truesdale to be my wingman for the PowerPoint. And this is tough. I have to follow Mike and Janelle's presentation, you know, and mine is not exactly up to their standard, but this is an overview. It's 13, 14 slides. The first piece is general expenses, and this is within the general fund. And what this fund or this budget unit really represents, it's not department based. It's sort of a landing zone for expenses that are not really allocated specifically to individual departments. Our medical claims are included here, our workers' comp claims, unemployment claims, insurance-related items, including premiums and deductible amounts that the city has to pay. And there's also some special disbursements that relate to close entities to the city. So again, the personnel piece, or the major object account grouping of personnel, includes $13 million in medical. And I know you're familiar with our medical claims the city has experienced this year. We're anticipating a better year next year, but this is still a significant increase over the 2024 proposed budget. Also, the MMO for the non-uniform pension plan, as I mentioned earlier, that is increased, and this is captured within the general fund or the general expenses budget unit. Moving down to services, And these are major items that represent that particular account grouping. Stop loss coverage, which is an insurance items against occurring medical claims. 500,000 and 250,000, and these are legal liability related when it comes to handling what the city experiences in claims and related expenses. And the property insurance, I described that previously about it has gone down, but it's still a significant number. And that particular number actually covers 3 policies: property, crime, and cyber. The last item is the other category, which relates to, as the items are described there, the supportive funding for operations for the redevelopment authority, the continuation of the free parking, downtown parking program for next year, and then also the city has continued to provide local support to the transportation authority, which is CAT, or Capital Area Transit. The next slide is transfers. Again, this is general fund still. 3 major full transfers here. The debt service fund, the city has a required minimum payment it makes to those particular bonds. You may have heard them referred to as the Verizon Tower bonds or the Commonwealth Tower bonds. Next is the Harrisburg Senators Fund, which is coming to a completion early next year. That's the ongoing stadium upgrade project, and the general fund has been funding that. And there's also an expected reimbursement to occur later next year through an RCAP grant fund. The 500,000 is new for 2025, and this is the funding to start up a deposit for the fire truck apparatus that the Fire Bureau has in mind for next year. So that completes the last 2 significant budget units for the general fund. Moving on to next slide, please. Thank you, Jared. Special revenue funds. There's 2, the State Liquid Fuels Fund, and this is, Public Works has oversight over this, specifically engineering. The total budget of $2.6 million for next year, with a heavier focus on streets and roads projects, including what's in mind for Berry Hill Street and Sycamore Street. This fund is funded through the Commonwealth, through PennDOT. There's an estimated allocation that the city receives in the fall of every year for the upcoming new year. The next fund, I believe we touched upon this last night with Parks and Rec, their input, the host fee fund. And this is, it's overseen by that department, but there's an increase in the budget for 2025, which is really attributed to the $500,000 that has been proposed for allocation to the Broad Street Market restoration project. This fund is funded through the quarterly amounts the city receives of the Act 101 fee, and that results every quarter from the resulting disposed refuse tonnage. The Debt Service Fund, this is a governmental fund, and quite simply, it's fed by the general fund funding, so the city can pay its related debt service. And that relates again down to the second half of the slide, which is the $1.25 million, as I mentioned, the Verizon Tower bonds. What's up above is actually funded by the Liquid Fuels Fund. It relates to an infrastructure bank loan, which occurred. It was a 10-year loan, and the paving project was the South Harrisburg paving project, which happened several years ago. So we're getting closer to the maturity on that particular loan debt. Next slide, please. A capital projects fund, another governmental fund, expenditure of $6 million for 2025, majority of which is various streets and roads projects. In the budget book on page 224, there's a detailed breakdown that shows the individual streets and roads projects. There's about 8 or 9 of them, And also, there's a funding column that shows the related grants that are in play. Now, for 2025, there's no funding transfer for the general fund because of the amount of grant proceeds that we anticipate coming in. It should be more than enough to cover the intended budget, their projected budget of $6 million for next year. It includes, sorry, Jared, could you back up just, and also not just streets and roads, there is a bridge bundling program through the county. There's, I believe, about 3 or 4 bridge projects that they're trying to improve the condition of those bridges. Okay, thanks, Jared. The last fund proper for, and this is a proprietary fund, the Harrisburg Senators Fund, and the numbers are large, but it relates to what remains, what is coming to complete the stadium project, and the reason it's 16 million. It's 10 for the actual construction costs or improvement costs, but there's a $6 million capital program grant award, the RACP award, and as you know, all along, this project has covered multiple years, starting in 2023. The general fund has advanced funding to get this project underway and to where we are right now. So the anticipation would be to receive the RACP grant later in the year, and then the Senator's Fund can reimburse the general fund. So that's the other $6 million expenditure to get the general fund reimbursed. Vice President Green, if you want, the last 7 slides relate to the special funds. Do you want me to pause at this point to field any questions on what I just discussed?
Yes, we can open it for questions. I'll start to my far left with Councilman Jones.
No questions at the moment.
All right.
Councilman Rodriguez.
No questions.
Councilwoman Rawls.
No, good evening. No, I don't have any questions at the moment. It's very detailed.
Okay, thank you.
President Bowers.
No questions. Thank you.
Councilwoman Davis.
No questions. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Daniels. Thank you. I don't have any questions either.
All right. Okay, the last 7 slides in my PowerPoint relate to the 7 special funds. A little history here. Years and years ago, under previous Mayor Reed administrations, there were funds or project funds set up that were classified as trust and agency, which really they really weren't of that category, because at the end of every year, they weren't standalone. The expenses and revenue would always have to be returned or reclassed back to the general fund for our audited financial statements. So in 2015, and also back then, those funds were not subject to appropriation procedures. So coming along in 2015, under the Mayor Papenfuse administration, what we did was create these new funds. And they're called special funds. They're not special revenue funds because they don't meet the classification. We still have to include them in our general fund when it comes to our audited financial statements, but at least they're on the surface now, and they're subject to your awareness budget-wise. And there's specific line items that represent revenue and expense for each fund. So this first fund is the Blight Fund, Blight Remediation. It's of a codes nature. As far as the budget units that are relate to it, including salvage, permit penalty, and the foreclosure property registry. The budget for 2025 is $144,000. That includes a $100,000 interfund transfer support to the general fund. The rationale is it's to be supportive or applied to expenditures that relate to the Bureau of Codes. Revenue sources are listed there. Recycling revenue from demolition, mitigation fees, building permit fees, and any realized revenue that may occur on foreclosure property. The next fund is more of a public works nature, a special events project reimbursement fund. And the expense budget for next year is $200,000. There's just one budget unit that accommodates that. This fund has also interfund support for two of the city's funds, including the general fund and the neighborhood services fund. Specifically city services, which is more on the sanitation side of neighborhood services. So those two transfers of $100K each make up the budget for 2025. And primarily the revenue sources which are listed there include other recycling revenue and any public works generated revenue. As an example, for public works, in the general fund, there's a range of budget units in the general fund, which includes traffic and engineering, vehicle maintenance, and also the the facilities and special projects budget unit. Okay. Fire Protection Fund. This is a smaller budget, mainly because we're trying to utilize this as a savings. There's one budget unit within it, the SHARP team. I think that's for Special Hazardous Assistance and Response program. The Fire Bureau overlooks this. The revenue sources include those particular items. Fines and costs occur more frequently than the other items. The general fund is contributing the $500,000 to this fund to, again, help build up an availability to fund the purchase of the new fire truck vehicle. There's also the Police Protection Fund. The budget is $600,000 for next year with 3 budget units. The federal forfeiture, which is really where when the city's police work on cases involving federal representatives, the results from that can achieve forfeiture type revenue that can benefit the city. I'm sorry, Jared, wasn't quite quick enough. The $500,000 interfund transfer is another one in support of the general fund, and with the logic being that this will help support the police bureau's expenditures for next year. And the revenue sources are listed there. One of the more significant items is that Act 120 reimbursement from the state police. That pertains to when the city has new cadets on hand and they go to train their proper training at HAC. There's a eligible reimbursement to receive that fund to be deposited within this fund, as the related expense are also in this fund. So that's police. The Parks and Recreation Fund. This is separate than what's in the general fund, which is Parks, Recreation, and Enrichment, but this is like an add-on fund. Again, there are 3 budget units which relate to benefiting City Island, Reservoir Park, and there's an other events budget unit. This also includes interfund transfer support to the general fund and neighborhood services at $125,000 each. General fund, it would be related to Parks, Rec, and Enrichment, and specifically to the neighborhood services fund, this would be applicable to the parks maintenance piece of neighborhood services. And the various revenue sources are listed there, including park permit fees, licenses and permits, and other program or supporting contributions. Small fund, this one, the WHBG TV fund, very small, but it's we're budgeting at $10,000 for the communications department really oversees this, and there will be some available budget for needs that would arise for next year. There's really not a significant amount of income, as you can see, that relates to it. It's primarily sourced by the generated interest income. Okay, the last slide is the events fund, and over $516,000 for next year's budget. And the revenue and sources include Again, licenses and permits, those are vendor fees that when vendors show up to city events that the city hosts, they have to pay those fees. Also, there's sponsor and other contributions that support the various events that take place through the year. This year, there is grant funding budget from the state to support a capital outlay for the Riverfront Park Pavilion. And that's the last slide.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open it to my colleagues for questions. I will start to my right this time with Councilwoman Daniels.
No questions.
Councilwoman Davis.
No questions.
President Bowers.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Councilwoman Rawls.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. I'm glad to see a riverfront park pavilion. I think that's used a lot for concerts, right? The one right by the hospital in that area? Or you mean that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Oh.
The one they're gonna build right at the Civic Center.
Oh, that's at the Civic Center. That's the smaller one at the Civic Center.
And it's not mobile, it's to stay put and
Yes,
Riverfront.
no, I
Right?
totally
Is
meant
is
that. It's
okay.
just like,
Yep.
get the two mixed up. I know one, I think Harrisburg University uses a lot, but it's not a pavilion, they build a stage.
Oh, okay.
So but I forgot, yes, by the Civic Center to hold more like entertainment events for
I should-
weddings and other things.
I appreciate your comment. I should mention, credit should go to our events manager, Courtney Cameron. She's involved with the budget when it comes to this particular fund.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
they did mention that and talked about it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Councilman Rodriguez.
I hope it's not too loud. Thank you for being this
What?
Thank you very much. He said, hope it's not too loud, something, no questions.
No questions.
All right. Yeah, that would have been a tough question to answer.
I don't have any questions myself.
My apologies. I know.
No problem.
I don't have any questions myself. Thank you very much for the presentation of these other funds. I think it's important for the residents to be able to see all of the budget, not just the ones that have specific department heads. So I appreciate you giving this presentation and letting people know all the fine details that are in it as well. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Vice President Green, and thank you, City Council.
All right, I believe that covers the 2025 proposed budget in all its grandeur. I will open it up for public comment now. Housekeeping rules, please keep it to 4 minutes. State your name and the area in the city which you reside. I will start to my right. Is there any public comment? Anyone in the center, any public comment? Anyone to the left, public comment? I appreciate everyone who has attended the budget hearings these last 4 days, as well as everyone who has participated online. I appreciate the residents who've sent in questions online or spoke to different council members with their questions or concerns, or spoke with our city council staff as well. I also want to say thank you to the city council staff for all the work that they've done to compile the information, get us the presentations and slides, reach out to the various departments. So your work doesn't go unnoticed and it doesn't go unappreciated. Thank you to the solicitor's office for making sure that everything's in order and making sure they're constantly sending us updates to remind us of things that will trigger certain advertising requirements or different things throughout the budget process. So it's all appreciated and it doesn't go unnoticed. I think I will see if there's a motion to adjourn now.
He's not on the screen, so you're not really here to be making.
Anybody?
Nobody wants to leave?
I'd like to say one thing before we adjourn, and I'd just like to thank Vice President Green for facilitating the budget hearings. You did a great job keeping everything moving, and I just appreciate your candor during this. So thank you. And I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you both. We're now officially adjourned. This is off the record, but still, remember, we do have a meeting next Tuesday, which will be a legislative meeting. The work is not done. To my council members, if you have any amendments, please send them to Jared, and he'll compile them and get them all out to everybody. Thank you.